Your teenage child has been struggling with functional neurological disorder, short for FND, that includes PNES or NES, non-epileptic seizures. And if you are a dedicated parent, like many parents I talk to, then I have a solution for you. Not only one, but 8 things you can do to help yourself and your child at the same time. So let's get to it. Hi, I'm Dr. Lee here, pediatric health psychologist and the founder of Teen FND Academy. So today I have 8 parenting strategies that you can implement today at home or pretty much anywhere that would help you and your child with FND. So I'm gonna go one by one, but before I go there, what is FND? FND is an umbrella term to describe this cross-wired problem between a brain and a body, even though your child's brain and body are quote-unquote okay structurally and physiologically. It is a real diagnosis. Your child's not making things up. And no, it is not just one thing that is causing the problem of FND, nor emotional, psychological, anxiety, stress, it's all in your head. None of those things are the one thing that is causing the problem. There might be some, but it's not it. It is a biopsychosocial phenomenon. And I have tons of videos talking about that. What is FND and what is and I have tons of videos talking about what is FND and what is biopsychosocial model. So anyway, let's get to these 8 parenting tips. And I do have a handout. The link is down below that you can access right now, and you can literally go through it while you're listening to the rest of my video. Anyway, I always emphasize the number one thing that you have to do as a parent who is caring for teens with FND is self-care. You know, like when you're flying, always the flight attendant will say, put the oxygen mask on first before you put it on your child or other people around you. Same thing here. You are already stretched thin, overwhelmed, frustrated, no good, not a good use of your time and energy, right, for your child if you're there, like your stress is all-time high and things like that. So I dare you that you take time, not like that you have to take time to do this grandiose luxury trip or anything like that, but little by little, do the self-care. Anything that would be helpful for you, as long as they're safe and healthy, that's okay. What you are actually doing is more to it than what you're doing for yourself. So what do I mean by that? When you're caring for yourself, even though that means you have to quote unquote kind of let your child do their own thing, and then take time for yourself, even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you know, like 1% of every day is less than 15 minutes. So you can take 1/3 of the percent of the day. That means 5 minutes, right? So even if you're doing super tiny thing, very easy thing that you can do, what you're actually doing is you're showing this is how it's done for your child. So basically you're being a role model for your child who is going to implement and internalize, oh, it is really important to care for myself more than anything as a top priority. So you are basically teaching, kind of showing and telling that it is a really important skill that your child can develop. All right. So that's why you do it yourself, so you can show how it's done. The tip number 2 is anxiety management. And it's kind of similar to self-care, but self-care is something that you do kind of on a regular basis on a good day. So you can practice this self-care model. Anxiety management is more about like right on the spot. Let's just say that you're witnessing your child struggling. Your child is having really hard time, emotional breakdown, having seizure or episode, whatever you want to call it. It actually makes a lot of difference how you want to call it, but I'm just going to save that for another day. But going back to, you are witnessing right on the spot that your child is struggling. You, as a parent, need to co-regulate, meaning that you are basically implementing the anxiety and stress management skills right on the spot, so then you are remaining yourself calm and collected. If you are frantic, panicky, and really hyper activated because of your child episode and symptom right there and then, and basically you're essentially, pouring the gasoline to the fire of this FND, and you're basically reinforcing the symptoms. So that is not helpful either. So instead of you being frantic and then telling your child, it's okay, calm down, you are basically showing how it's done. It's okay, I am doing my own management exercise right now. And even though you're not able to see me or hear me right there and then, I know that in time this is going to be helpful. So I am going to continue to practice this anxiety management techniques right now. So that is what you're doing. Number 3, stop asking questions. Technically, it's called status check questions, but stop asking questions, anything related to your child's FND, pain, chronic fatigue, sleep, school, anything of that nature related to FND. So clinically speaking, I call it FND speaks. Sometimes in chronic pain world, it's called pain speaks. So whatever that you do or you say that is related to or drawing attention to your child's FND. So that includes whatever your child is saying or doing that is related and drawing attention to the FND itself included. But starting with you, so things like bombarding with questions like, did you have an episode today? How many times did you have it? How long were you out? What did you do? How are you feeling? How was your sleep? What's your energy level? What is your pain level on a scale of 0 to 10? Tell me, how did you have any episode at school? What did you do? When you had an episode, did you talk to this? Oh, maybe you should do that. Oh, maybe you should take this medication. Oh, no, maybe you should need to eat. Here's a food. Oh, you need to hydrate yourself. Oh, here's a supplement. Okay, here's a medication. I did everything for you. That kind of thing. Anything that is related to drawing more attention to your child's FND, you've got to stop doing that, because that is directly pouring the gasoline again to the fire of FND. FND in and of itself is really the 3 components to it. I call it the 3 Ps. The first P is the predisposing factors. So this was like what was kind of cooking in the oven for a long time before your child developed or started having FND symptoms. And then the second P is precipitating factors. So what was kind of trigger? What sort of broke the camel's back to start this symptom of FND? And then the third P is the perpetuating factors. So this wasn't necessarily the reason why your child is having an FND, but what is keeping the fire of FND alive in your child. So anything that is reinforcing, anything that is drawing attention, anything that is increasing the fight or flight, the autonomic nervous system dysregulation goes into these perpetuating factors. And guess what? You asking these questions of all of these bombarding questions just because you're coming from the good place, I get it. Because none of my parents that I work with, they are ill-intended. They don't have any malintention or ill intention. They have a good intention. That's it. But they just can't help themselves asking these questions because they think that is helping, reminding them, nagging them to do these certain things. They think it's helpful. It's not. So this is one of the hardest ones that the parents have to do in my program. They're like, oh, no, we cannot ask these questions. I bet I would say, oh yeah, absolutely. Because if I were to ask you parents during the parent coaching calls, so how do you think your child is doing with FND? Then I am expecting to hear from you as a parent, well, I don't know, because I haven't asked the question. That's exactly what I'm looking for, because we're no longer pouring gasoline to the fire of this FND, right? So that is the third tip that you can do or stop doing. But you want to have a heads up conversation ahead of the time. So you would want to let your child know, hey, I watched this video and I'm following this protocol. And then one of the things that we're going to be doing different is I'm going to stop asking these questions, not because I don't care about you. It's quite the opposite. I care about you. I love you, but I know now that this does not help, and I want you to be involved with the care in resolving this FND once and for all. So one of the things that we're going to be doing different is I'm going to stop asking questions. So have that heads up conversation with your child before you start implementing. Okay. Number 4, tip 4 is to increase daily activity level. And when I say daily activity level, I don't necessarily mean by just the physical exercise like sports activities. It could be one of them if that is one of your child's extracurricular activities that she or he stopped doing after or since the FND started. I also mean by school, and I recently had a video of why cutting back the school hours or class or school workload is actually detrimental and not a good idea when our goal is to resolve FND once and for all. If you want to continue to live in FND band camp for the rest of your life and your child's life, by all means continue to do all of the things against, what I'm saying, okay? But increasing the daily activity level with baby steps is the key, because being sedentary is not helpful. And I actually had a parent talk to me that, yeah, exactly, I agree with you. Being sedentary is not a good idea. That's why having my child sit in classroom all day, every day is sedentary and not a good idea. That's why I am pulling her out of the school and then making into like part-time, and then the other rest of the time is homeschool. So then she can up and, walk around up and down and be less sedentary. I'm like, well, that's one way of thinking about it. There is actually another way that your child can continue to stay in school all day, every day, full time, not being sedentary. You kind of have to be a little bit creative. But once again, coming from mom's intuition or parents' intuition, thinking that that would be helpful because it is logical, unless you're a pediatric FND specialist who has been treating or helping teens with FND resolve the FND condition completely, your intuition usually is not really intuitive when it comes to helping your teen towards a resolution of FND. In fact, a lot of these strategies, the right approach, will sound pretty counterintuitive, but that is the way to resolve FND. So that's why increasing activity level. So on a bad day, the activity level might look like your child's just getting out of the bed. On a bad day, it might look like your child's just walking or crawling, or using some sort of, furniture to walk around or get by between bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, and so forth, right? So it doesn't have to be, no matter what, going on a mile of running or something like that, right? So again, really, where is the baseline at the moment for the past, I would say, few weeks, and then picking up from there. Really, the goal is, for your child to get back to whatever the 100% life that they were living. And so kind of backtrack and then do the reverse engineer and then start the baby steps. Okay, so that's a tip number 4. Tip number 5, create a coping kit with your child. So when I say coping kit, I don't necessarily mean by now I have to carry this 10 pounds of bag with all kinds of gadgets and then fidgety toys and everything else in it. Well, sure, but that doesn't have to be the case. The coping kit might be just a list of things your child can do to re-regulate the nervous system. And that might include just slowing down the breathing, do the meditation, grounding, which are all internal resources that they can use, meaning they don't really need anything or anyone else to do the thing to re-regulate the nervous system. Or they can do a small object of fidgety toys or sensory calming techniques or any tools that they can use. Sometimes that might mean a little bit of weighted stuffed animal or massage ball or things like that. Again, you don't need to have like 20, 30, 40 different things under your belt, but really just a reminder that your child can use. So it is really about empowering your child to take the ownership and responsibility, meaning really to take control of your child's brain and the body to re-regulate the nervous system. This is not necessarily to get rid of FND right away. So let's just say your child is having an episode or is about to have an episode of FND, and just having this slow breathing one time or 2 times isn't necessarily going to get rid of FND. So your child is going to say, well, I've been there, done that, tried that, it didn't work. Well, usually, are you doing the right thing, first of all, and with the right mindset? So again, there's a lot more nuance to it, but coping kit is something that you can help create, but your child needs to have a skin in the game. That's why I create a coping kit with your child. So you're not responsible for, here, I created this list and then you can use that. Unless your child is 2 or 3, like a toddler age, your child needs to have more say in it. Okay? So that's a tip number 5. Number 6, kind of related to stop asking questions. So tip 3, let go of control. Parents, I will tell you that this is the hardest one as a parent to do. Everyone that I work with, they say the same thing. Sometimes parents might be saying, oh my gosh, wow, what a relief. I don't have to always be a carer, for my child. So sometimes parents might be saying, oh my gosh, this is such a huge sense of relief that I was on my wit's end by doing all of these things to care for my child. Of course, being a parent is not the same thing as being a caregiver. A caregiver has a different meaning to it, but you have to parent, your child, and your child is only getting older. Once again, just to have a cautionary, thing, disclaimer here, we're talking about teens who are struggling with FND. So that is a specific thing. So you need to also learn to parent a teenager, right? At the same time, the teen who's having FND. So you need to kind of learn double duties of being a parent. That includes start to really let go of the control. And the more you try to take control, the less your teen is going to feel empowered or in control or in the driver's seat. So this FND is going to perpetuate, meaning continue to exist. Once again, you letting go of control is also getting rid of the gasoline of this burning fire of FND, aka the perpetuating factor. Back up a little bit. So while you're doing this let go of control, going back to the tip number 1 of this parenting strategies, that you can continue to enhance your self-care to really take care of yourself while you're letting go of control, because you're going to need that. You're going to feel a little bit empty. You're going to feel a little bit guilty. You're going to feel a little bit shame, like, oh my gosh, I hope my child doesn't think that I am a bad parent, all of that stuff. The truth to be told, your teens are going to be like ecstatic. They're like, oh my gosh, finally my parents are not breathing by my neck, kind of thing. So it's okay to let go of control. And then if your child smirk a little bit, that's okay too. All right. We're all learning here. So tip number 7, focusing on the effort and hard work, but not the outcome. We all know the outcome is to get rid of FND. Well, I just want to make sure that is your outcome, because I did have a video of goal setting not too long ago, and oddly, some families actually are accepting the diagnosis of FND as a permanent, chronic, forever thing. So all they want to do is to learn to live with it. Well, I am on a different band camp that I have seen so many teens getting rid of FND completely, like resolving completely and get their life back. So I am talking about that context and then that goal specifically. So yes, you want to get rid of FND yesterday, I get it. But if you're stuck on this timeline, which I have a video about why time is against FND, so keep focusing on the effort, meaning what your child can do and you can do, such as using the strategies and focusing on what you can actually do and the positive outlook and the mindset. These are the things that you and your child can control right away without being attached to the outcome. So think of it this way. Let's just say your child is an athlete, and I have a lot of athlete teens in my program, and they know this concept like right away. So for example, if I were to say, hey, I want to learn this new sport. Let's just say it's a soccer. I have 2 brothers who play soccer growing up, and I grew up dancing very competitively. So let's just say, I were to say to my friend who's a soccer player, hey, I want to learn soccer, but it doesn't matter, or I'm a bad soccer player if I don't win a national championship, or the Olympic or the World Cup, right? And then my friend would say, no, that's not it. But why? My goal should be to win the game every single time. Otherwise, what's the point of learning soccer in the first place? And when I say that to teens, every single one of them, they chuckle a little bit and they're like, well, no, that's not how it works out. You can win and you can lose, but you can learn from it. And I'm like, well, that's exactly the point. When it comes to resolving FND, getting rid of FND isn't necessarily the only thing that matters. It matters eventually. However, what you do to get there matters more. So things like practicing, right? Showing up to the practice. And you put best effort, to get better. Learn from the coach, right? Learn from losing the game and learn from the other opponents or competitors or teammates, all of that stuff. Every little things matter. And these are the things you can do, like showing up to the practice and practicing every day, just like you can practice the coping strategies, autonomic nervous system, the mindset work, all of these things on a regular basis. Therefore, focusing on the effort and then hard work far more important than just focusing on the outcome of getting rid of FND. Last but not the least, you might want to bring this up in the beginning, actually, when you work with your teen, but this is the last tip. It is okay to include some sort of external reward, especially in the beginning. Look, when your teen is about to retrain their brain, it takes a lot of manual labor. And I don't know about you, if you have ever thought about going to the gym, if you have never been to, or being on a diet or doing something new, it takes a lot of labor, for you to get started and then get into the momentum. But if you, let's just say, go to the gym, I don't like going to the gym, but whatever. If you like working out, and then if you start working out, and if you are working out, let's just say 5-6 days per week for, let's just say 3, 4, 5 weeks and months and months and months. Right? And then that becomes your habit and then routine. And now if you don't do that, you kind of feel weird, right? So that's because you retrain your brain and then hardwired, that is how it's working. And that is your habit and that is your routine. But in the beginning, it was more like a conscious effort. Okay, I gotta get going. I feel tired, but I'm just gonna do it, that kind of thing, right? Same thing for your teen. When your teen is learning this new habit, like increasing daily activity level or practicing these nervous system regulation strategies and doing self-care, anxiety management, all that kind of stuff, same for you, it is okay to include external reward, especially in the beginning when I say it's about 3 to 4 weeks in the beginning. Okay? Because eventually and ultimately, the biggest reward more than anything is for you and your child to get better, right? So that is an ultimate internal reward. And so until then, you can continue to reinforce by adding some sort of external reward. And when I say external reward, it doesn't have to be a money or thing. It can be, it doesn't have to be, as long as they're appropriate, age appropriate, safe and healthy, and you as a parent are okay with it, then I don't really care what it is, right? It doesn't necessarily matter. However, it can be, something that you can set the parameter, right? So then your child is not having this kind of ridiculous, I want to go to the space every week, that kind of, oh my gosh, that's a little too much, that kind of thing. But I want the child to be the one to pick the prize, because then there is ownership, then there is a control, but you get to set the parameter. So everything on that reward list should be something that you feel comfortable with and able to follow through. Many teens want screen time, or more of, or sleep over with friends, or going to the mall, or, joining this team for soccer or whatever, or being able to pick which restaurant to go to for dinner, or being able to pick a menu, or being able to pick an appetizer, or being able to pick a flavor of the ice cream or dessert, or one more scoop of this, that kind of thing. As long as you feel okay with that, that is okay. Or your child can earn and accumulate the points for something bigger later on. So again, it can be you get to pick what board game to play, something like that. Right? So it can be pretty minuscule thing, but anything that your child is sort of gets excited, so then there's enough motivation to get the momentum going. So just to recap, the 8 parenting tips, again, the link is down below for the actual thing, so you can, print out or document in PDF, you can save it. 1 is self-care, anxiety management on the spot, stop asking questions, increasing daily activity level with baby steps, and creating coping kit with your child. Let go of your control as a parent, focusing on the effort, not the outcome. And it is okay to include rewards. So what would you like to do first? Leave a comment below. What have you been doing and what would you do differently, or what would you start doing based on these 8 parenting tips? I would like to hear from you. And if you are ready to be coached by me and my team of exactly how you could do this, because I've talked about what to do, and your teen is ready to take actionable steps to completely resolve FND once and for all, and you guys are ready to invest the time and energy, then you might be a good candidate for my program, Teen FND Academy. So feel free to click the link down below and then schedule a call to talk to me and my team. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.